So my name is Christopher. I'm one of the founders of Heap. The idea of Heap was to give people a tool to create great content. And what I want to talk about today is about inspiration and about user-generated content and how empowering people to create great content can actually have very, very good and positive effects to your fashion brand. So inspiration is at the heart of every fashion brand, obviously. Without inspiration, you're lost out there. In a digital world like today, inspiring people is both harder and easier at the same time. So on the one side, it's a lot harder to reach people. There's so much more information out there. People have a very, very short attention span to pay attention to your brand, actually. On the other hand, there's so many more tools to tell your stories, to reach out to people, and also to give people a tool to actually talk about your brand. So marketers, for a while now, have decided that the big solution is content. So whenever you want to reach out to people, you need to produce valuable, inspiring, relevant content so people will actually choose voluntarily to engage with your brand and to interact with your brand. With a new era come new challenges as well. So obviously it's quite difficult to measure the effectiveness of the content that you produce and that you put out there. It's quite difficult to produce enough content. It's quite expensive to produce all that content. And most of all, it's quite difficult to produce content that's engaging enough so people would actually choose to engage with the brand. So what's gone wrong or what's misunderstood often by fashion brands is that it's not just about creating inspiring content and then people will come easily and just decide that for themselves and say, okay, I'm just going to engage with the brand now because the content was so great. So that's something that goes wrong often, that they fail actually to inspire because people don't ask for the content that they produce. Just briefly, there are three types of content, a bit of theory here. There's own media or own content, which is basically your own company website, it's your corporate blog, it's your Facebook page, and so on, other channels that you own. Then there's paid media, which is basically everything you pay for. It could be classical advertising, could be sponsoring, could be investing in getting a better search engine results, etc., etc. And then there's earned media, which is user-generated content, basically. So it's everything you get for free, everything that people choose to do on their own. So that could be comments, could be posts, could be any reviews, could be word of mouth. And this is obviously the most valuable and the strongest form of marketing that you want to get. So because it's the most trustworthy, because it comes directly from the people. Still, this is something that's quite underestimated still. What's the reason for that, or what could be the reason for that? Thing is, most brands still see these three types of media in a certain order, and they expect it to function also in a certain order. So they would produce content on their own channel, they would promote it maybe on other channels, and then they would expect to get a lot of reaction for it. So that's why it's maybe also called earned media, because they expect for all their effort they did, that what they earn now is media and a good reaction. Instead, if we talk about user-centric content and being relevant to people, obviously this arrow has to be the other way around. So what I kind of propose here is for people to think more from a different direction, think more from right to left here. It's not like saying one type of media is preferred over the other. It's just if we want to talk about user-centricity, then it obviously has to start with the consumers, because only then we can build a relationship between consumers and brands. This relationship between consumers and brands has changed over time. So this is very important to understand when we talk about inspiring people to create content. So this is very, very simplified, but it's just to get my point across. It's very, very long ago since we've been in a situation where brands actually were kind of the ones who were telling us what was right, what was wrong, and people were just listening. It's also, we're not anymore in a situation where brands are just, facing the challenge of creating these imaginative worlds, these dreamlands where people would say, okay, I want to associate myself with the brand. Instead, we are in a situation where the consumers themselves are on the stage. They expect applause for what they want to do. They want to self-realize themselves. They want to self-represent themselves. So brands are now in a situation where they actually need to empower the people. Because the people will only choose a brand if the brand helps them to, put themselves in a better situation and fulfill their dreams. So what does that mean for a brand? So what, if we realize that, and if we've seen that consumers are now in that kind of situation and in that kind of position to expect stuff from the brand, what do brands need to do to empower people to create? What do they want? What do they need to do to make them actually make the content they could actually serve and have positive effects to your brand? So there are 4 things I want to name here. Obviously, it's very, very simplified, the whole thing, but it's just important to get this point across. First of all, community. So it's not only about maybe making reviews or having people comment on stuff, but it's maybe more about understanding that people want to be part of a community. So if they want to create content, they want to feel part of a community. So why make them just react to your content and comment on it instead of making them actually the experts in a community where they can interact? So this is a very important aspect. Another aspect is authenticity. It could be just a buzzword. We've heard of it a lot in the recent years. After all, it's the important hygiene factor for people to become active, and to contribute. So if something's not real, if something doesn't feel real, and if the whole circumstances don't feel real, people will never start interacting. At least it's something that could be real. Third point is instant skills. This is a very, very important aspect, especially when we talk about new tools like Snapchat, but also if we talk about Instagram. So instant skills is basically giving people something in the palm of their hand or anywhere, something that makes it very, very easy for them to create cool stuff, without having to put a lot of effort in it. So if we think about Instagram, for example, it's by downloading one app, it made every one of us into art photographers. So if we want to incentivize people to create content, we have to think about giving them the tools to make it easy, playful, and fun for them to create this content that looks cool at the end of the day. Fourth point is fame. People will never do anything if there's no reaction for it. So as we've seen before in the involvement of the consumer-brand relationship, people want to be on the stage themselves, so they expect to kind of, get a response for it, get likes for it, get followers, get push notifications all day at best, and see that somebody sees what they do, and get a positive reaction to it. So this is just 4 points to to wrap that up. Oh, it's too far. User-generated content is clearly the strongest form of marketing that we have right now. And it's kind of, what I want to say here is that marketers or marketing for fashion brands often have to stop thinking about how the digital transformation has changed all their marketing channels and they need new market channels and whatsoever, instead of thinking about how they can actually empower people to create content in the first place. Because only then you can actually get people to act and not only react to what you do. So. And then at the end of the day, this is a good quote I thought for this presentation, consumers will become your own content marketers. Just briefly, a few seconds about what Heap is. So Heap is an app, a social media tool that actually was built to actually fulfill exactly that, to have a tool that makes it super easy, fun, and on the go to create good content across all media types. So you can use any video, photo, text, sound, and arrange them together and have a beautiful collage and a very, very visual tool. So just let me say one last sentence, kind of from the marketer's point of view. User-generated content is everywhere and it's happening anyways. The challenge for fashion brands is just, do they want to embrace it or not? Thank you.